Jerod, welcome to the Leanpub launch video for Agentic Programming from Prompts to Production, a path to AI fluency. I was wondering if you could take a moment to talk to all of us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do, and then what your book is about and who it's for.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I am a software engineer and a computer professor, or I'm sorry, a computer science professor. I've been doing software development for over 30 years. I've kind of been back and forth between industry and academia. So I'm currently a professor and associate chair in the computer science department at Brigham Young University. But I've also worked as a software engineering director. I've owned a consulting company before, and so I have a lot of both types of experience, academia and industry.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fantastic. And I love that when I was looking at your LinkedIn profile before while I was preparing for this video, you go from kind of students to all the way to kind of start to companies with like consulting to defense industry stuff. And so your experience is very kind of like serious from like the teaching to the doing.
yeah, I've done a lot of different things. I guess I get bored easily, so I've changed what I've done quite a bit.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, I've liked it all. It's been great.
And so, who is this book for? Before we get into what it's about.
Yeah, it's really for software developers. It's for software developers who want to increase their use of AI, who want to increase their productivity with it, the leverage that they get from it. We hear a lot about AI, and a lot of people are really underutilizing the capability, partly because of what they hear that may or may not be true. And so the idea of the book is to help people really gain the leverage that's available for them.
And you tell the story in the beginning of the book, I think, about how you wrote a paper or some kind of guidance for students or something like that, where it was all about prompting, and you realized, oh, there was much more that actually people need to kind of learn how to understand and use AI properly in programming.
Yeah, really, the book started from that paper. So it was a paper that I wrote to help my students learn to use AI more effectively in their programming. And it was titled Best Practices for Using AI or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but um, what I realized after I wrote the paper, it was pretty helpful to the students, but I realized it really wasn't the right thing. It really wasn't what they needed. At the same time that I was working with them and writing that paper, I was also building my own agentic harness. And I realized that what people really need is some kind of a roadmap to get from where they are to where they can be and where they should be. And the best practices you might use would vary depending on where you are. And so at first I was thinking, well, how will I revise this paper to make it, so it kind of fits where the students are? And I realized, well, they're at different places and developers are at different places. So really what we need to know is we need to have a clear understanding of where can we be with it? Where do we start? And where can we end up? And that's really what the book is about.
Yeah, it's really good, and I can say it's very detailed and methodical, and but like clear and kind of easy to read and go through, which is great. I can tell there's a good computer science professor behind behind
Mhm.
behind the book. One interesting thing that I imagine, I think one of the reasons that people often like get into the prompt, can I just fix the prompts? Can I just fix the prompts? Can I just fix the prompts? Is one of the amazing things about using, the AI like Claude and stuff like that is that you just write something in and something happens. Something gets done for you, something you can use and play with pretty quickly. And as a programmer, that's very kind of seductive kind of thing. But what your book is all about basically is unless you take the time to step back and really understand the power and what's going on here, you're going to be kind of stuck and just kind of get lost in kind of doing little improvements here and there and not understanding what the really powerful kind of applications are of this
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, that's exactly right. That can give you kind of a false sense of security. The first time you write a prompt and you get something pretty useful out of it, you can think, "Oh, wow, I don't need to program anymore. This is pretty cool. I can
Mm-hmm.
get whatever I want." And
Mm-hmm.
if I put more detail in the prompt, I'll get even more, and it'll be even better. That really comes from a lack of understanding of how the AI even works. So there's so much more to it. Prompting is part of it, but you really are pretty limited on what you can get out of it if prompting is where you're focused.
And
There's so much more.
yeah, yeah. And so that leads me to ask you, so what is a harness then?
Yeah, so a harness is a system. First of all, you have to kind of understand the difference between determinism and non-determinism. So determinism is what programmers are used to working with. So you put one input in, like for a compiler, you give it the same input, you'll get the same output every single time. That is not true of a probabilistic system. And so sometimes programmers think, well, if I just put more detail in the prompt, then I'll get what I want. Maybe, but not reliably, not consistently, because really the whole benefit to a large language model is that it's probabilistic. And so we don't even want to take that away. What we want to do is learn to work with the system that is probabilistic, and we need to learn where should it be probabilistic and where should it be deterministic. And that's really what a harness is all about. It is the execution structure around your agents. So you'll have a set of agents and they're probabilistic. So we can't really think of them as being like a compiler. They're more like a programmer. And programmers are non-deterministic. Given the same input, they'll produce different output. And that's part of the power of them because they can think, they can reason, they can understand, they can make decisions under uncertainty. That's what we get with agents. But then we have to put bounds around that. We have to put controls around that in order to make the system that we build from that reliable. And that's really what a harness is. It's a combination of agents and constraints that we put on them, inputs or the context that they use, and the outputs that they produce. And if we just try to build a better prompt, then we're gonna we're gonna hit limitations pretty quickly. But if we use the whole harness and all the parts of it, the constraints, the context, and we really know how to do that, then it's really incredible what we can get out of it and how reliable the results can be.
That's very well said. I love the idea of seeing the probabilistic nature of it as an asset and a good part of it, and in a sense that nothing new because programmers themselves have always been probabilistic. It's a very
Yeah,
optimistic way and
exactly.
I think powerful way of looking at it. For anyone interested in learning more, the book also talks about the AI Fluency Ladder, which is 5 levels of delegation from prompting and task delegation to agentic workflows, verified execution, and autonomous execution. I'm just reading from the description here.
Mhm.
But it also walks you through building an agentic harness like Jerod was just talking about. So it's a really amazing book. If you're studying computer science, if you're a junior programmer, if you're curious about how all this stuff and if you're curious about how it actually works too, the book is a great introduction to that. It's Agentic Programming from Prompts to Production, A Path to AI Fluency by Jerod Wilkerson. Thank you very much, Jerod, for taking some time out of your day to talk to me and all of us for this launch video.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.